When I was about 15 years old, me and some of my friends decided to go camping at a nearby lake. It was a 3 to 4 hour hike, and the nearest house was maybe 3 hours away. We brought some homemade wine and drank the whole night and ate poorly grilled hot dogs. Life was good. We all shared the tent, so it was crowded as fuck in the tent, but we all fell asleep around 2 a.m. At 4 a.m., I wake up because I can feel someone running their hand down my forearm. Not that unlikely that someone brushes up against me since there wasn't any space to move around in the crowded tent. But this is the arm that is facing to the tent door, so someone touched me from the outside. I sit up and get instantly horrified to see that all my friends are sound asleep in the tent with me. I put on my deepest voice and shout,
"Whoever the fuck you are, you need to leave."
And a mainly low voice answers me,
"You should pack up your stuff and leave."
not threatening or aggressive, just calmly in a dead kind of way. By now, all my friends are awake and are just looking at me. No words, just pure horror in their eyes. I say,
"Okay, we will go, but you need to leave."
Hurry up.
when we get out of the tent, this man, who is fucking huge by the way, has taken the little rowboat that was laying at the bank and gotten into it and is just sitting in the middle of the lake and watching us pack up our stuff and trying to get the fuck away ASAP. We had to walk around the lake at our way back and he was just sitting there watching us. We never went back. This was 17 years ago in a rural Scandinavian country. We have a free-to-roam law, so we were not trespassing. We knew our way around the small town we grew up. Everybody knows everybody. There had been no people missing and or found dead. Never. There hasn't been a murder in generations. We told our parents, who at first tried to calm us down, and they said that we were probably overreacting. But the way he caressed my arm before he told us to go was not normal. When we told him everything and what he said to us, we were told to never go back. After COVID, we all met up and the subject came up and we tried to do some digging. There are no houses or cabins anywhere near. The lake is way too small to fish in. When he was sitting dead center in his little boat, there was maybe 60 feet to land of all sides. No one has ever seen this man before or after. My husband, kid, and I live out in the middle of nowhere on a plot of land that's about 100 acres. I'd say probably 95 of those acres are wilderness with ATV and hiking trails that we and several of the previous owners created by exploring. We use that land for camping, hiking, and hunting. We like to find a spot, clear it a bit, and camp overnight. There's so much space that we never stayed in the same place twice. We've seen some kill sites, both old and fresh. Lots of animal tracks, places where deer bed down, etc. I've spent a lot of time hiking solo while the kid is in school and husband's at work. Whether alone or with the family, we always carry a firearm for protection. A few weeks ago, we decided to load up our camping gear and start a new trail. We mark the trails we make with spray paint on trees. We were pretty far in the woods, having hiked almost an hour when the atmosphere seemed to change. I don't know who noticed it first, but my husband, who was leading the three of us, turned around and gave me a concerned look. The birds had stopped chirping. The insects were quiet. There were no sounds around us. When in the woods, complete quietness is rarely a good thing. We continued onward, hyper-aware of our surrounds, while our kid continued merrily talking. We came to the stream that marks the midway point of our property. We stopped for a few minutes. My husband and I stared down with each other. We both felt something was off, but didn't want to scare our daughter. I finally broke the silence and said I suddenly didn't feel good and that we should go home. My husband nodded in agreement while our daughter voiced her protest. We turned around and started heading back. After going a few hundred yards, still in silent wilderness, I looked to my right and saw a person crouched down in a gill suit about 150 feet out of our trail. I am positive they saw that I noticed them, but they never moved. I cleared my throat to get my husband's attention, and when he looked back, I put my hand on the gun in the holster on my hip, which caused him to readjust his rifle in preparation for anything. I sped up my family and we hurried back home. I told my husband as soon as we were inside. We decided to call the police and report the trespasser. We filled a report and was told to call again if we saw anyone. A few days later, my husband and I went out alone and set up a bunch of deer cams. We didn't go back out in the woods for maybe a week. Then he and I ventured out to retrieve the cam footage. Out of the 9 cams we placed, we caught a person in a gill suit in 2 images. We handed copies over to the cops to go with our report. We haven't gone back out since, except to check on the deer cams. Haven't gotten any other trespassers. It freaks me out even more to think of the few times, while camping, that we heard walking near our tent in the middle of the night. We always assumed it was curious animals, but now I'm not so sure. Would you dare go into the woods alone? Or would you dare not hit that like button? I was backpacking with my dog and about 12 miles from the road and trailhead, so pretty far from people, though popular enough that other hikers might be around, though we saw no one all day. About 2 a.m., my dog started this really low, deep growl and wakes me up. I turn on my headlamp and see his teeth showing and he's right on top of me. I hear heavy footsteps near the tent. I leash my dog so he doesn't tear through the tent, and the footsteps move further away, but keep circling my tent. All of my food and toiletries are hung in a tree in a beer bag. There is nothing in the tent to draw a bear's attention. I clap my hands. Something is still slowly circling. It's not something a moose would do, and a bear might if he wanted food. But I've got nothing and a really big dog with me. I decided to step out of the tent with a leash in one hand and a bear spray in the other, yelling, "Hey bear." The footsteps stop. Dog's nose is in the air telling me to look right, but there's nothing in my headlamp that I can't see. I didn't hear anything run off, but it's quiet. I give it 5 minutes or so, get back in the tent, and it starts up again, slowly circling, maybe 50 feet from me. Maybe an hour later, I hear the footsteps wander off in the woods. At dawn, I take the dog and the bear spray and start looking for tracks. I find a clear path in the leaves that had been trampled, but no tracks. The dog's nose is on the ground and I follow his lead, and he follows the loop around our campsite. We finally see a few human footprints, not shoe tracks, a regular sized bare human foot. Plus, yup, a human third and a toilet paper. Some a-hole was wandering around the middle of nowhere, near the tent and circling my tent for an hour or more and left a dump for me to find. I was camping under the Shoes River by myself one night. It was middle of the week, so I had the campground to myself. There isn't another human being within 5 miles. I drink a few beers as the sun goes down in the canyon. It is a cloudy night, so no stars and no moon, also no campfire since it was well into fire season. Combined with the clouds, this made it essentially pitch black. It's dark and no one can see me, so I put on my headphones and start dancing freely around my campsite. When suddenly, my nose catches a faint whiff of something awful. I take off my headphones and hear nothing, and before I can turn my headlamp on, I hear a big thundering of hooves, feet, or paws, and feel a huge whoosh of wind about 2 feet in front of my face. Then a loud crash into the bushes next to my campsite. Before whatever had jumped through the bushes even hit the ground, I had ran to my truck, laid down in the trunk, and locked all the doors. I didn't move for the rest of the night. I slept in my vehicle, had like 5 beers worth of pee until daylight. When I wake up in the morning, all I can see is a small bit of blood on the tundra of my boat trailer, some sorts of prints in the dirt, and a giant 5 feet diameter hole in the bushes next to my camp. To this day, I have no idea what happened. My hypothesis is that a deer wandered into the campsite and saw me being oblivious dancing like a fool. When I stopped moving, it got spooked and tried to run into a bush. And it must have nicked itself in the trailer as it jumped over it. I don't think my life was ever in danger, but it was terrifying, and not knowing what it was makes it even worse.